Hey. Blessed love and blessed night to it's Coach Fire from Real Life in Boxing. We're about to do the fight breakdown of Vasily Lomachenko versus Jose Pedraza. Before we get into it, y'all smash the like button, subscribe. It's Real Life in Boxing. So the base of this breakdown is on the footwork of Vasily Lomachenko and Jose Pedraza. And I started off by showing the fancy footwork of Vasily because, you know, that's what everybody wants to see, the step around, you know what I mean, and all that good stuff. But right off the bat, Southpaw versus conventional fighter, you know what I mean? So right off the bat, both of them are well aware, you know what I'm saying, of foot placement and footwork. And shout out to Pedraza because he did a great job of nullifying the so-called great footwork of Vasily Lomachenko. Now, there's a little bit of footage, you know what I mean, just showing them toe-to-toe. Like I said, they're both well aware of where the feet should be. You can see Vasily stepping on Pedraza's foot. You can see Pedraza stepping on Vasily's feet, and they are doing that on purpose. You know what I mean? To get the upper hand in the foot placement. Now you're gonna see Vasily make a hard step over to his right. See, you see that right there, because that's what he loves to do. You know what I mean? He loves to make that hard step over to his right so he can curl around you and do his thing. Now, Pedraza did a great job of nullifying that, because every time Vasily would even step hard to that side, Pedraza would just take a step back to his right. You know what I mean? So instead of even letting Vasily stay close to him, he just nullifies it by taking a step back. And if you've seen my fight breakdown of Vasily Lomachenko versus the last dude he fought, Linares did a great job of nullifying it too. But what Linares was doing was Vasily was actually making the step on Linares and turning, but what Linares was doing was just turning with him, which Pedraza did that a few times, you know what I mean, during the fight. You probably see it in the clips. But what Pedraza did most of the time was just take a step back to his right. So as soon as Vasily would make that hard step to his right, Pedraza would just step back, you know what I mean, to his right, so you know what I mean, it just absolutely nullifies it, you know what I mean. And like I said, I started the video with the great footwork, well, the so-called great footwork, just that stepping over, you know what I mean, that Vasily does. But in this video, you can see that Vasily makes a lot of mistakes with his feet, in which I pointed out in the fight breakdown versus Linares. Vasily, and he constantly steps over when he throws his straight left hand, right? What happens when he does that is that he leaves himself in a vulnerable position to get hit. And you can see every time he does it, you know, Pedraza places him with some shots. You know what I mean? Honestly, that was the bulk of Vasily Lomachenko getting hit, was because he kept stepping over, and he constantly does it all fight. And the thing that was so funny about this fight is that the commentators, my God, we need to stop. They just need to stop having boxing commentators in a hole, because if you're gonna commentate the fight and you're just gonna cheer for one fighter, you know what I mean, that's not fair. That's not fair to the fans. It's because if you were a fan, right, and you know, like I run the live streams on my channel, no video, just the sound. If you are not watching this fight and you are listening to the commentators, you would swear that Vasily Lomachenko was absolutely putting a beating on this dude. You know what I mean? Every time Jose Pedraza landed punches, they wouldn't say anything. You would hear whap, whap, and they wouldn't say anything. Every time Pedraza made a so-called mistake with his feet, they would point it out. But every time Vasily made a mistake with his feet, nobody said anything. And he constantly, all fight, he throws his straight left and he steps over with his left foot, leaving himself open to body shots and getting tagged. Now, Pedraza also does this during the fight. he also throws his right hand and steps over. But the difference with Pedraza is that when he does it, he stays in southpaw position. So he throws his right hand and steps over, and then he steps back and stays in southpaw position. When Vasily does it, when Vasily throws his left hand and stays there, he usually just stays there. So now that's no good because his feet are squared up, his shoulders are squared up, and he's getting tagged with body shots or head shots. Now, honestly, Pedraza, to me, it seemed like the whole base of Pedraza's game plan was just to not get was just to not let Vasily Lomachenko get him out of position with his feet, because he did very well. But at the same time, you know, he was kind of like pop shotting. It almost seemed like the both of them were, and until Vasily decided to go on his rant, you know what I mean, and get him out of there. But for the most part, they were just pop shotting each other, and Pedraza was landing some nice shots, but he was just pop shotting them. He wasn't like landing. He wasn't like throwing like powerful shots. He's just, you know, he hit him with a couple good shots, but he's just like pop shotting. He's pop shotting. He's pop shotting. Almost seemed like he was sparring. So I feel like his whole game plan was just to not let Vasily Lomachenko get him out of position with his feet. And in doing that, he did very well. He even switches to southpaw numerous amount of times in the fight. And when he switches to southpaw, he does, to me, he did better offensively when he switched to southpaw, but he got hit more. He didn't do better defensively when he switched to southpaw. Sometime when he actually he was actually using Vasily's own move on him, stepping over to his right when he turned southpaw, and it was really giving Vasily Lomachenko some problems when Pedraza finally settled into it. When he first started doing it, Vasily was catching him with some shots, but when Pedraza finally settled in to the southpaw stance and started moving over to his right, that was giving Vasily some problems. And I feel like Pedraza did a very, very, very good job, you know what I mean, when he went to southpaw. But for the most part, overall, as far as punching, he was just, you know what I mean, he was just pop shotting. Like I said, Vasily Lomachenko, the bulk of the punishment that he took was because he's either stepping over when he throws his left hand or he's walking towards Pedraza, and that's how he got dropped in the fight with Linares, and he did it multiple times in this fight, as you can see on the clips. He's just walking towards he's just walking towards Pedraza, just walking towards him, crossing his feet over. Not good. You know what I'm saying? If he does this against a power puncher like Tank Davis, he's got some serious problems. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's a good fight. But if he makes those kind of mistakes against a fighter like Tank Davis with real punching power, he's got some problems. You know what I mean? But to his credit, after he goes on his rant and he knocks Pedraza down with the 40-punch combo and steps over, body shot, down goes Pedraza. When Pedraza gets up and Vasily comes back out in the 12th round, you can see now he's a little bit more cautious because his trainers, his dad was rash on him. His dad said, "You're chasing this guy, you stop chasing him, you're getting hit." So in the 12th round, Vasily finally keeps his feet, you know what I mean, and starts going after Pedraza without crossing his feet. You know what I mean? He's staying in his stance, stepping forward. He does cross his feet a couple times, but he does that out of punches range. For the most part, he's stepping forward in his stance, and he's cracking Pedraza with some good shots. Pedraza did great though. He did great on hanging in there. He did great on fighting. I mean, I felt like, you know, like I said, he could have thrown more. He could have put some more power. He could have sat down on his punches a little bit more. You know what I mean? For the most part, they were both fucking pop shotting each other until Vasily decided to go on his rant and land those couple of body shots that got Pedraza the hell out of there. But you know, I just wanted to point out the fact that Vasily Lomachenko, the footwork is the footwork is good. I mean, there's fighters that have just as good footwork. I mean, honestly, I feel like Jose Pedraza's footwork in this fight was better than Lomachenko's because he didn't make those mistakes. He didn't make the mistakes that Lomachenko made with his feet. He stepped over a couple times, but when he did, he either stayed in Southpaw stance and stepped back, or he got out of there. Vasily Lomachenko, when he steps over, he just stands there and he gets tagged. Boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? So I feel like Pedraza's footwork was actually better than Vasily Lomachenko's. I think everybody's hyped off of Vasily Lomachenko's footwork because he's a southpaw and he makes that step over. He makes that step over. You know what I mean? I mean, like I said, we've seen 2 fighters in a row nullify it. So I feel like as he goes up in competition and as he fights, you know what I mean, world-class fighters, he's not going to be able to get away with that. He was only able to get away with that tonight when he hurt Pedraza, and when Pedraza was just standing there out of stance, you know, 2 feet next to each other, hands shelled up. You know, that's when he was able to do his nice step around. But for the most part, you know what I mean, he really couldn't get it off against Pedraza. And you could see he went for it numerous times, stepping hard to his right, and Pedraza would just step back to his right. You know what I mean? And one time he actually tied him up. You know what I mean? Stuck his hand out and tied him up. So other than that, it was a good fight. Both of them were pop-shotting each other until Vasily Lomachenko went on his rant and got him out of there. I feel like he needs to do much better against a fighter like Tank Davis. And, you know, to Lomachenko's credit, he's just coming off of reconstructive shoulder surgery on his right shoulder. So that was major. He wasn't throwing those uppercuts or anything, you know, with the right like he usually does. But shout out to both fighters for a great performance. Pedraza had Lomachenko's face dumped up. You know what I'm saying? Lumped up. You know what I mean? But it was a great fight. We coming back. We covering the fights this weekend. Carnelo and Spilden, whatever his name is, man. Fielding, I don't know. We covering it. Feel me? We covering Broden and Pacquiao. We covering all these fights, man. You guys hit the like button. Leave me a comment. Tell me what y'all think about my fight breakdown. This shit was lit. Subscribe. It's real life in boxing, man. Hands up, chin down. Protect yourself at all times. Peace and one love. We out.